two-way radio contact with their crew chiefs and mechanics. Two-way radios in the cars are permitted on long track events. Field gets double stacked down in turns 3 and 4, set for the start. And David Geiger will look them over. And the green flag is out, and the 1994 Mellow Yellow Louisville 150 is underway. Over to turn number 3, and it's Bill Kimmel Jr., the early race leader, with car number 11, Joe Williamson, running at second. Larry Metters goes third. Keith Gardner up to fourth as they complete lap number 1. Jim Bartley runs fifth. Race leaders are back into turns 1 and 2, and it's Larry Metters dropping beneath Joe Williamson for second, and he'll take second place away as they move on to the backstretch area. The battle right now for third as Keith Gardner moves in on Joe Williamson. They're bumper to bumper onto the front straightaway as lap number 2 is completed. The race leaders move single file into turns 1 and 2 and onto the backstretch. Single file throughout about the first 7 spots, and then it's Preston Ford, Bill Johnson, and the number 8 machine of Chuck Winders, along with Joe Williamson Jr. racing together as they move back into turns 1 and 2. Wayne Edwards in car number 31 having a handling problem on his car. He drops back to the tail of the field, as does Gregg Pike in car number 47. Race leaders complete lap number 4 with Bill Kimmel Jr. out front by 12 car lengths. Larry Metters in car number 05 currently at second. Joe Williamson runs third, followed by Keith Gardner in car number 98 at fourth. Running fifth, Jim Bartley. At sixth, it'll be Todd Robinson. Running seventh, car number 7, Buddy Fannin. And then Preston Ford, followed by Bill Johnson and Joe Williamson Jr. On to the front straightaway. Bill Kimmel Jr. now opens it up. Half straightaway advantage right now over Larry Metters. And they're back into turns 1 and 2 after 6 laps of competition. Gregg Pike in car number 47 going 1 lap down to the race leaders as they negotiate turn number 4 and move on to the front straightaway. It's Bill Kimmel Jr. out front now by 20 car length advantage. The battle right now is for second, third, and fourth as the trio moves on to the front straightaway of Larry Metters, the number 11 of Joe Williamson, and the car number 98, Keith Gardner. And we move back to a third pack of cars headed up by Jim Bartley in car number 25, Todd Robinson and Buddy Fannin racing together. And then a third trio headed up by Preston Ford, Bill Johnson, and the number 53 of Joe Williamson Jr. Car number 28, John Garrett, is slowed on the backstretch area and appears to be headed back towards the pit area. Trouble on the backstretch. It's Calvin Crane in car number 4, who glides down to the infield portion of the backstretch area. Car number 71 has also looped his car in the middle of the backstretch area. Joe Williamson Jr. making up some spots, though. Looks like he picked up about 3 positions as the field races back to the caution flag. So we're under caution after 11 laps of competition in the first 50-lap segment of the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150. Jeff Wilson of Fairborn, Ohio, normally races at the Killcare Speedway in Xenia, Ohio. Car number 71 visiting Louisville Motor Speedway for the first time. Locked the brakes up on the backstretch area, stalled his car in the middle of the racetrack, and that's the reason for the caution flag. Back up on the front straightaway, Bill Kimmel Jr., who jumped out to about a 20 car length advantage over Larry Metters as the race leader. As the caution flag period bunches the field back up again, and Larry Metters in the number 05 will get a outside front row starting position. Calvin Crane in car number 44 is 1 lap down to the race leaders after getting off course on the backstretch area. Car number 11, Joe Williamson, is currently in the number 3 position, followed by Keith Gardner and the number 25 of Jim Bartley. That's a look at the top 5. Going 6th, it's Todd Robinson. 7th to Buddy Fannin. 8th to Joe Williamson Jr. And running in the number 9 spot right now, the number 20 of Preston Ford. Going 10th, it'll be Bill Johnson. 11th to Chuck Winters. And then rounding out the top 12, car number 14, Junior Blankenship. The 1 to go signal now given to the field before the restart of this event. 39 laps to go in the first 50-lap segment of the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150. He's set for the restart with Bill Kimmel Jr. out of Clarksville, Indiana. Car number 05, Larry Metters, a former winner of the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150, lining up alongside. Front row moving over to turn number 4, and it looks like they'll send him around one more lap. To the green flag. They're over in turn number 3. And the green flag is back out. And into turns 1 and 2. Bill Kimmel Jr. on the inside. Larry Metters up on the high side now as they move over to turn number 3. And over to turn 4 now. Joe Williamson in car number 11 currently runs 3rd. Keith Gardner up to 4th. Jim Bartley rounds out the top 5. Buddy Fannin now has picked up a spot. He'll run 6th on the field, followed by Todd Robinson and then Preston Ford. Single file once again through the first 10 positions as the field moves on to the front straightaway. Back through the field, we find Bill Johnson making his way past Calvin Crane. He'll bring along the number 53 of Joe Williamson Jr. with him, and Junior Blankenship, as well as Lenny LeGrand in car number 06. Jeff Johnson all grouped together, moving on to the 4th turn area. LeGrand gets out of line there momentarily, and Jeff Johnson tags up with him going into the 1st turn area. Roland Isaacs up on the outside. Shannon Carroll and Brian Baum all grouped right there together. Bill Kimmel Jr. out front, 8 car lengths over Larry Metters, and the number 11 of Joe Williamson Sr. currently in 3rd. .33 laps left to go in the event. The first 50-lap segment of the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150. Back through the field, just outside the top 10 now. We have Joe Williamson Jr. in car number 53 moving in on Bill Johnson in car number 5. Junior Blankenship in car number 14 right there as well as they move over to turn number 2. Car number 22, Les Vogt, Gregg Pike, and car number 47 now 1 lap down. Jeff Wilson in car number 71 goes yet another lap down to our race leader, Bill Kimmel Jr. Larry Metters about 8 car lengths behind at 2nd place. Joe Williamson in car number 11 right now pinned in behind Gregg Pike, as well as Jeff Wilson's car as they move on to the front straightaway. They're losing some valuable ground right now to Larry Metters. Keith Gardner will look to the outside of Joe Williamson. Again, this is the battle in third and fourth place as they move over to turn number 3 and down into turn number 4. Joe Williamson now going to the outside of Gregg Pike. Pulling around the outside now, Keith Gardner in car number 98. Jim Bartley is reeled in Gardner, and Buddy Fannin is right there as well. Battle for third over in turn number 2, and it's Keith Gardner moving up along the inside of Joe Williamson Sr. And Keith Gardner takes over third place as they move on to the front stretch. Coming up on the halfway point of this first 50-lap segment, Bill Kimmel Jr. is the race leader with 25 laps remaining. Larry Metters currently runs second. Keith Gardner goes third. At fourth, it'll be Joe Williamson. And then rounding out the top 5, Jim Bartley. Running sixth, Buddy Fannin, and right now Fannin's got a great battle going on with Jim Bartley as they move on to the fourth turn area. Bartley in the number 25 is at fifth place. Buddy Fannin running sixth, and Todd Robinson at seventh. Those three cars are right there side by side, bumper to bumper, as they move over to turn number 3. Robinson taking a look now to the inside of Buddy Fannin. Once again, this battle is in for the number 6 place position as they move on to the front straightaway and back into turns 1 and 2. Gregg Pike in car number 47 has just gone another lap down to Bill Kimmel Jr. The number 60 of Shannon Carroll is also 1 lap down, as is Jeff Johnson in car number 23, Fred Williams in car number 95, and the number 85 of Alan Williams Jr. and Ron Phillips. All those cars are 1 lap down to the race leaders. Car number 74, Brian Baum, now 1 lap down. 19 laps remaining in the first 50-lap segment. Bill Kimmel Jr. onto the front straightaway, the race leader. About 2.5, maybe 3 seconds back to Larry Metters at second place. $17 to go. Now Preston Ford in car number 20, set to go 1 lap down to Bill Kimmel Jr. Checking back through the field, we have Buddy Fannin in car number 7 right now in the number 6 position. And he is reeling in on car number 25, Jim Bartley, as they move on to the front straightaway. Todd Robinson and Chuck Winders in car number 8 right there. Laps remaining. Bill Kimmel Jr. onto the front straightaway now with 13 to go. Larry Metters still at second. And Keith Gardner in car number 98 is currently at third place. Then Joe Williamson, car number 11, and the number 25 of Jim Bartley are right together now on the backstretch area. Buddy Fannin, Todd Robinson, Chuck Winders all grouped together, and those 5 cars move through the 4th turn area and onto the front straightaway. Alex in car number 4 now, going 1 lap down to Bill Kimmel Jr. Inside the final 10 laps of this first segment of the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150. And so far, Bill Kimmel Jr. has had the dominant car. Kimmel moves along the inside of Lenny LeGrand now. Seven laps to go for Kimmel. Car number 05, Larry Metters, still at second. And then Keith Gardner running third. The top 3 cars are spaced apart, but then from 4th place back to about 7th, they're grouped right together there on the backstretch area. Joe Williamson Sr. in car number 11 moving into the 4th turn area with Jim Bartley, Buddy Fannin, Todd Robinson, and Chuck Winders. Preston Ford in car number 20 now, 2 laps down to the race leader. And now 5 laps to go in this first 50-lap segment. Kimmel Jr. in car number 69, the race leader now moving in behind Joe Williamson Jr. Alan Williams, the number 5 of Bill Johnson in car number 95, Freddie Williams. A lot of smoke out of one machine over in turn number 2. It's Calvin Crane in car number 44. Looking for the white flag this time around. Bill Kimmel Jr. moving through turn number 4. Onto the front straightaway. The white flag is out, indicating 1 lap to go. Out of turn number 4, and Bill Kimmel Jr. wins the first 50-lap leg of the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150. Larry Metters across the line at second. Keith Gardner finishes up at third. At 4th, it'll be car number 11, Joe Williamson. And then rounding out the top 5, car number 7, Buddy Fannin. 9 cars reported on the lead lap. It's like Jim Bartley in car number 25 was running inside the top 5. However, he dropped a position or 2 back there with about 2 laps to go. 9 cars reported on the lead lap as Bill Kimmel Jr. takes his machine back towards the pit area. So, Bill Kimmel Jr. has 1 point so far. Larry Metters with 2 points. Car number 98, Keith Gardner, will have 3 points. Car number 11, Joe Williamson, with 4 points. Buddy Fannin has 5 points. And so on through the field. Keep in mind, the driver with the least amount of points at the end of the night will be the overall winner of the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150. The second 50-lap leg will be lined up in the inverted finish out of the state of Ohio. Out of turn number 4, and the green flag is out. Jeff Johnson, Lexington, Kentucky driver, out front in the blue and white colors of the Yates Pipeline Services. Show the way down into turn number 4. Jeff Wilson in car number 71 runs in second. Turbo Blue Racing Fuel sponsored Ford Thunderbird. And now here comes the uncle and nephew battle there. The 95 of Fred Williams and his nephew Alan Williams Jr. in car number 85 in the yellow Buick. Down into the 4th turn area. Fred Williams in car number 95. He'll go for second as they pair off into turns 1 and 2. Alan Williams Jr. also breezes by the inside of Wilson to take over third. They're on the backstretch area. Ron Phillips now trying the high side of Jeff Wilson, switching up now. Shannon Carroll in car number 60 in a Ford Thunderbird. Junior Blankenship in 14 now approaches the top 5 as they move back into turns 1 and 2. Jim Bartley making up several positions now, passing Todd Robinson down on the inside. He's side by side with Bill Johnson, moving over to turn number 4. Back into turns 1 and 2. Watching Ron Phillips now working on the inside of Jeff Wilson, losing some momentum, and here comes Junior Blankenship around the outside. There's the battle at 4th in turn number 4. Onto the front straightaway, and Junior Blankenship takes over the number 4 spot as they exit turn number 2. Running 5th, it's Jeff Wilson in car number 71, then Ron Phillips, Brian Bob, and the 53 of Joe Williamson Jr. Shannon Carroll slowing up on the high side of the 3rd turn area, and it looks like Shannon Carroll's headed back towards the pit area. Race leaders move into turn number 3. Jeff Johnson of Lexington, Kentucky is the race leader. The 95 of Fred Williams runs at 2nd. Alan Williams Jr. goes 3rd. Junior Blankenship at 4th. Jeff Wilson in the number 5 position now, challenged on the outside by Brian Baum in car number 74, a former winner of the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150. And Baum's Oldsmobile gets together with the 71, and look out in turn number 4. Several cars getting together. Ron Phillips, Bill Johnson, Brian Baum. Car number 69, Bill Kimmel Jr., Larry Metters, the 7 of Buddy Fannin, the 98 of Keith Gardner, and Roland Isaacs all come together here on the front straightaway. The LMS officials checking with the drivers involved in the accident here in turn number 4. Brian Baum in car number 74 is out of his car. The number 7 of Buddy Fannin. The LMS track officials are checking with him right now.
39, 71 positive.
And according to the Louisville Motor Speedway officials, all the drivers involved in the multi-car accident here on the front straightaway are all okay. No injuries. Let's give them all a nice round of applause. Wish them all luck in getting their cars back together again and possibly rejoining this lineup. But right now it looks like we've got a cleanup effort, and it'll all begin with the Suburban Wrecker Service and Recovery Team, the John Deere tractor from Louisville Tractor Incorporated here on the front straightaway. And we'll find out if these cars can be repaired and returned to racing action.
And it really throws it wide open, and Metters is now on the back, Gardner on the back. So really, if you were looking at who technically is leading this race right now, looking at the way they're lined up, I think you'd have to look at Joe Williamson Sr. and Jim Bartley would probably be your leaders at this point.
I agree with you, Scott, there. And Jim Bartley in car number 25 running for Rookie of the Year honors in the Winston Bush late model class here at Louisville Speedway. And right now, he might not only increase his chances in the point standings, but he may walk away as a major race winner tonight. He's still in this thing.
We've got to shop it. It's still real early as we're just really 57 laps into it, and they're coming around looking to get things going again with Johnson and Williams up front.
As they move out of turn number 4, the green flag is out. Jeff Johnson and Fred Williams will lead the field into turns 1 and 2. Alan Williams Jr. attached to the back end of Jeff Johnson's machine at 3rd place. Here comes Junior Blankenship up along the outside, and Chuck Winders is right there with him as they come out of turn number 3. Down into the 4th turn area, and steady Freddie Williams in car number 95 out of Minor Lane Heights, Kentucky is the race leader. Back into turns 1 and 2. The battle's back at 3rd right now. Alan Williams Jr. down on the inside of Junior Blankenship. They're side by side into the backstretch area. Over to turn number 3. Blankenship will make it 3 abreast. Heading down into turn number 4. Alan Williams Jr. gets crossed up a bit. Chuck Winders slithers by on the outside. Winders takes over 3rd. They're back into turns 1 and 2. Joe Williamson Jr. now brings it down to the inside of Alan Williams. And they're side by side as they head for turn 3. Battle for the lead now as they move over to turn 4. Junior Blankenship brings the B&R Special up into the number 1 spot. Freddie Williams in car number 95 runs at 2nd, and the number 8 of Chuck Winders goes goes third. The battle's back at fourth now. Joe Williamson Jr. along the inside of Alan Williams Jr. And Williamson takes over the number 4 spot. Chuck Winders now moves along the inside of Freddie Williams. He'll take over second. The field's back into turns 1 and 2.
Gardner and Metters making it progress.
Two of the top finishers in the first 50-lapper, Keith Gardner and Larry Metters, have not progressed much from the tail of this field.
Neither is Joe, the big pot Joe.
Joe Williamson in car number 11 also not progressing up through the field as fast as I know he would like to. Larry Metters makes it 3 abreast with Preston Ford. Jeff Johnson over in turn number 3 now. Here comes Keith Gardner. He'll bring the Ford Thunderbird through. Everybody takes a deep breath at turn number 4, and Gardner glides on by the number 23 machine of Jeff Johnson. The race leader is Junior Blankenship, a former sportsman track champion, multi-time sportsman track champion around the Kentuckiana area. Best battle on the racetracks for second right now. And it's Joe Williamson Jr. on the inside of Chuck Winders. This is somewhat of an instant replay of the first 50-lap late model showdown we had here at Louisville Speedway between Williamson and Winders. Side by side. And that's some tremendous driving talent to run side by side for an entire lap all the way around this Louisville Speedway.
We got him. Oh, look out.
And Joe Williamson Jr. takes over second. Here comes Todd Robinson now up to 4th. Chuck Winders at 3rd place. Now Roland Isaacs and Don Jackson's creation now begins reeling in the top 5. Roland Isaacs now taking a look to the inside of Fred Williams, and they're side by side on the backstretch area. Joey Williamson's not content with second. He'll go for the lead. On the front straightaway, takes a look to the inside of Junior Blankenship, exiting turn number 2, and it's that Doug Kroger horsepower coming to life on the Joe Williamson Jr. entry. Price Baird horsepower under the hood of Junior Blankenship's car says he'll remain the race leader as they pull onto the front straightaway. Here comes Jim Bartley along the inside of Fred Williams in car number 95, and this will be the battle for 6th as they head for turn 2.
Joey's not trying again.
Junior Blankenship in car number 14. I tell you what, we've got 32 more laps left to go in this one. By far, probably the most interesting segment of this Mellow Yellow Louisville 150. Junior Blankenship in car number 14 has one career Louisville Motor Speedway feature event victory. However, I believe in the past he has picked up one of the 50-lap legs in the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150. He's out front. Running at second, it's Joe Williamson Jr. Todd Robinson's for real tonight. He's up to 3rd place in the running order, and right now could be the leader of the overall right now. The number 15 of Todd Robinson out of New Albany, Indiana. Todd had a 7th place finish.
That'd give him a 10 right now.
In the first 50-lap leg. He's right now running at 3rd place.
Yeah.
And maybe going for the lead. Onto the front straightaway. Roland Isaacs now. And the Paul King prepared Camaro makes his way around Chuck Winders. And Roland Isaacs is up to the number 4 spot for the moment. Chuck Winders battles back to the inside as they move on to the front straightaway.
Actually, I think
Jim Bartley and Keith Gardner battling side by side now for the 7th place spot. And Joe Williamson in car number 11 is also now approaching the top 5. He's in 6th. Top 5 cars bumper to bumper onto the front straightaway.
as your points go, Robinson and Williamson 11 are leading.
Here comes Roland Isaacs down to the inside of Todd Robinson for 3rd place as they move over to turn number 3. Robinson hops to the outside, but he has nobody to draft with as they pull out onto the front straightaway. It's Junior Blankenship, the race leader, on the backstretch now. Joe Williamson Jr. once again battled for the lead there momentarily, but has dropped back about 3 car lengths.
25 now.
Todd Robinson up along the outside of Joe Williamson Jr. Here's Roland Isaacs down on the inside. Duratec racing engine underneath the hood of Todd Robinson's machine out of New Albany, Indiana. He'll go for 2nd place along the outside of Joe Williamson Jr. Now, his strongest point on the racetrack is the backstretch. Watch that car take a hop. And he'll pull around Joe Williamson Jr. Might take him a lap or so to get completely around Joe Williamson Jr. Onto the front straightaway. He reels in the number 14 of Junior Blankenship. And once again, watch Robinson's car on the backstretch. That Duratec racing engine comes to life. Pulling around the outside of Junior Blankenship and onto the front straightaway. Robinson's the race leader with 21 to go. New Albany, Indiana driver out front.
He's in front in total points, too.
And Todd Robinson is out front in the total point situation as well. Joe Williamson in car number 11 right now at 7th in the running order is at 2nd place in the overall picture.
Oh, no. Gardner's caught.
Now Keith Gardner in car number 98 right now in the number 6 position.
Gardner's second.
He is also will be in the 2nd place position now in the overall standings. We'll give you the official rundown as soon as we can. We've got 19 to go with lots of racing still left to go. But it's Todd Robinson, almost in a similar manner that Kimmel did in the first 50-lapper, has opened up a huge lead now over the rest of the field. But that battle back at 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th is a real tight battle right now, and anything can happen.
Metters obviously got nothing.
Evidently, Larry Metters in car number 05 sustained quite a bit of damage in that early race mishap here on the front straightaway. And right now, Larry is just about ready to go one lap down to Todd Robinson. Larry has a tremendous push in his car. He turns the wheels to the left, but the car keeps behaving to go in a straight line. Really having handling problems. Larry Metters now one lap down to the race leaders.
Well, look at him open up.
Junior Blankenship, a good run so far at 2nd place. And Joe Williamson Jr. runs 3rd, Chuck Winters at 4th, and Keith Gardner now rounds out the top 5.
That would... Technically, in points, Gardner and Robinson would be tied right now.
Onto the front straightaway, Todd Robinson, a 2nd-generation driver in the W.R. Martin Machinist Calls Body Shop, Sammy O's, and Duratec Racing Engines Buick out front. Running at 2nd, car number 14, the Mac Quality Tools B&R Speed Shop Racing Chevrolet Lumina of Junior Blankenship. And then going 3rd, it's the Copiers Plus, Kroger Automotive and Pipe Fitters Local 522 Racing Chevrolet. And problems for Chuck Winters in car number 8. Spins going into turns 1 and 2. No one else made any contact with Winters' machine, but he spun around in the first turn, and it brings out our 2nd caution flag period in the 2nd 50-lap leg of the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150.
Gardner tapping, or he
Gardner now. Gardner got.
Oh, went after him too.
Oh.
Yeah, Gardner got.
Well, it looks like Chuck Winters hit the wall over in turn number 3. Car number 98, Keith Gardner, was also involved in an incident. Man.
He had a shot at it too. And the big dummy, he didn't take Gardner out.
Gardner ought to come on around and run the race now, just piss him off.
One of Gardner's cars did that.
He didn't hit him that hard. He hurt himself when he hurt Gardner.
Go eat a hammer.
I hate seeing that kind of stuff.
Through, but with the attrition rate, Frank, not as bad as it looked like early. Again, in the combined points, which I'm trying to help you out quite a bit on here, just keep the numbers up. Todd Robinson would be your leader. Joe Williamson Sr. would sit 2nd, and Jim Bartley looks like he'd be in the 3rd spot right now.
12 laps to go in this one, and it's Todd Robinson who hops back out front. Joe Williamson Jr. had been working on Junior Blankenship for 2nd place, and it looks like he's found his line down on the inside. He'll bring along Joe Williamson Sr. along with him as they move on to the front straightaway. Back into turns 1 and 2, Roland Isaacs rounds out the top 5 as they move for turn number 2.
Frank, by turn of events in the combined total now, That's going to mean Joe Williamson Sr. is now your leader in the overall. But again, Todd Robinson has the advantage, even though he's still a point down, if he can keep Joe Jr. in between them as things go on.
We watched Larry Metters and Jim Bartley try to fit through turns 1 and 2 side by side. Metters 1 lap down to the race leaders. Todd Robinson barrels down into turn number 4 and onto the front straightaway. Joe Williamson Jr. runs at second. Joe Williamson Sr. at third. It'll be Roland Isaacs at fourth and the 14 of Junior Blankenship rounding out the top 5. Going sixth on the field, it'll be Jim Bartley. 7th now to Keith Gardner. And then running 8th, Fred Williams.
Oh, Junior gets under Robinson. That shakes it up, too.
Trouble here in turn number 4. It looks like Jeff Johnson in car number 23 spins in the 4th turn area, and it brings out the red flag. The red flag comes out. Anytime the red flag is displayed, the scoring reverts back 1 lap. And this is, Scott Douglas, certainly a break for Keith Gardner.
Tremendous break for Keith Gardner. It's going to allow him, as he had already picked himself up into a 7th position in this race. But not only that, Frank, realistically, with 8 laps to go, he had a shot, I would say, at Jim Bartley to wrap up once this is official and we get them added together.
It'll be 8 laps to the finish of this one with Todd Robinson out of New Albany, Indiana, and Louisville, Kentucky's Joe Williamson Jr. lining up on the outside. As they move over to turn number 3, set for the restart, David Geiger in our starter stand will look the field over. And the green flag is back out. Into turns 1 and 2, and Joe Williamson Jr. takes over the lead. Todd Robinson down to the inside, tries to come right back, but it's Joe Williamson Jr. out front. Todd Robinson runs second. Roland Isaacs goes third. Car number 11, Joe Williamson Sr. to fourth. At fifth, it'll be Junior Blankenship as they cross the start-finish line. They're back into turns 1 and 2.
This move here with
out front, Joe Williamson Jr. in car number 53. He was runner-up in the 50-lap shootout here at Louisville Speedway a couple of weeks back. Out front in the second leg of the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150, the race leaders are back into turns 1 and 2.
Frank, in terms of the combined points, the biggest battle on that racetrack, Roland Isaacs against Joe Williamson. If Roland gets in front of Joe Sr. and drops him back a notch, that really puts Joe Jr. and some others much more in contention as we head into the third 50. And right now, Roland's got the advantage. So in terms of the overall point battle, sure, it's important the first 2 spots, but the biggest battle on the race course right now is Roland Isaacs against Joe Williamson for third.
Down into turn number 4 and onto the front straightaway. Look out, Joe Williamson Jr. and Todd Robinson nearly get together on the front straightaway. Robinson shoots to the outside of Joe Williamson Jr. They're side by side on the backstretch area, and Robinson has the horses on the outside. Down into turn number 3, and it's Robinson out of turn number 4, back out front.
Frank, what a great race, and you're looking right now, really.
Whoa, look out there. Robinson gets a little bit loose in turn number 2. Here comes Joe Williamson Jr. down to the inside, and Robinson once again is extremely loose in turn number 3. It'll be Williamson who takes the lead now with 2 laps to go. They're back into turns 1 and 2.
Now Joe Sr. sticking it in there, Frank. He'll go for second. It's a Williamson front. And boy, does this shake things up. Robinson trying to get a fight back as they come to the white flag.
Father and son run first and second as they cross the start-finish line now with 1 lap to go. Joe Williamson Jr. out of Fern Creek, Kentucky, and Cheveley, Kentucky's Joe Williamson Sr. at second place. They're into the third turn area now. Todd Robinson fighting the battle for third place with Roland Isaacs as they move down into turn number 4. Look out, it's Isaacs and Robinson who collide together. Robinson spins on the front straightaway and then he somehow got across the start-finish line, but Keith Gardner has gotten around Todd Robinson right there at the start-finish line. And there's Roland Isaacs in car number 4. Now getting across the start-finish line, but those 2 cars really collided together in turn number 4. Scott Douglas, it's time to get your calculator out and figure up how the overall point situation looks while Suburban Wrecker Service and their recovery team goes to work once again.
Go to this and be short.
Come across before 95, didn't he?
95 is not good.
Let's
No.
can we review that?
Yes.
You're going to hold that 5th spot. He thinks 15 got across first.
I don't know. I was thinking 98 was down a lap, but it was.
Williamson Jr., car number 53, or will it be car number 11, Joe Williamson Sr.? On row number 2, there's Junior Blankenship in car number 14 and Keith Gardner in car number 98. Steady Freddie Williams in car number 95 and Jim Bartley in car number 25. On the 4th row, Jeff Johnson in 23 and Les Vogt in car number 22. Larry Metters back in the race in car number 05 and Preston Ford in car number 20. Bill Kimmel Jr. returns to racing action in car number 69 and Gregg Pike in car number 47. On the tail of the field, it's car number 85, Alan Williams Jr. and car number 71. Out of the state of Ohio, car number 71, Jeff Weiser. We're set to go as the field forms up down in turn number 3, set for the start of the 3rd and final leg of the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150. It's a Copiers Plus front row as they move over to turn number 4. The green flag's out, the field's off and running, and it's Joe Williamson in car number 11 who takes over the lead. Joe Williamson Jr. in car number 53 runs in second as they move over to turn number 3. Onto the 4th turn area and down the front straightaway. It's Joe Williamson out front, car number 53. Joe Jr. runs in second. Keith Gardner goes third. Junior Blankenship at 4th, and Fred Williams in car number 95 rounds out the top 5. Jeff Johnson rides 6th, then Larry Metters, then Jim Bartley as they move over to turn number 4. Out of turn number 2 and onto the backstretch. Joe Williamson in car number 11. A little bobble in that machine just a bit, the race leader. Back into turn number 4 and onto the front straightaway. Larry Metters takes a look to the inside of Fred Williams. He jumps back in line again. Williams glides up the banking some over in turn number 3. Metters is right underneath him now as they come down to the 4th turn area. Jim Bartley battling side by side with Bill Kimmel Jr. back into turns 1 and 2. Bartley on the inside, Kimmel on the outside. And right now that's the battle for the number 8 spot on the field. Joe Williamson Sr. in car number 11 only needs to finish 2 positions ahead of Keith Gardner to win the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150. Right now he has those 2 positions. Onto the front straightaway. And back into turns 1 and 2. Three abreast over in turn number 3. Les Vogt, the 23 of Jeff Johnson, and the 71. The top 4 cars shuffle over to turn number 3 and down into turn number 4. Out front, it's Joe Williamson in car number 11. Joe Williamson Jr. runs at second. And the father and son team lead the field back into turns 1 and 2. Keith Gardner in car number 98 right there at third. And then it's Larry Metters in the 05 in the number 4 spot. They're back into turn number 4 and onto the front straightaway. Junior Blankenship back in the number 5 spot. And now Bill Kimmel Jr. battles along the inside of Fred Williams in car number 95. And Kimmel moves up to take over the number 6 position as they move over to turn number 3. Joe Williamson in car number 11 ready to win this Mellow Yellow Louisville 150 outright here. Not only the leader in the overall, but the leader of the race as well. They're back into turns 1 and 2. On to the front straightaway. And Joe Williamson, car number 11, continues to lead the Copiers Plus Racing Chevrolet. Car number 71 headed back towards the pits. Jeff Wilson out of Fairborn, Ohio, out of the event. Watching the battle back at 5th right now, Bill Kimmel Jr. in car number 69 hustles up along the outside of Junior Blankenship as they move back into turns 1 and 2. Still watching the side-by-side battle back at 4th. Kimmel moves his Pontiac around the outside of Junior Blankenship to take over the number 5 position on the field. "34 laps remaining in this event. The race leaders are back into turns 1 and 2. It's still a 4-car shootout for the lead as they move over to turn number 2 and onto the backstretch. Gregg Pike in car number 47 set to go at least 1 lap down to the race leaders now as they shuffle by on the outside on the front straightaway, and they're back into turns 1 and 2. Joe Williamson has opened up about a 3, maybe 4-car length advantage over his son, Joe Jr., and they're back into turns 1 and 2. Watching Larry Metters, car number 05, move in on Keith Gardner, taking a look to the outside there momentarily, and now back into turn number 4. Problems for Gregg Pike, and car number 47 goes on a spin here on the front straightaway, keeps the car down on the inside portion of the front straightaway, and the rest of the field appears to be passing by without further incident on the outside. Yellow flag comes out with 30 laps remaining for Gregg Pike in car number 47, who spun his car here on the front straightaway, and it'll bring this field under caution. So the yellow flag comes out now with 30 laps remaining. 20 laps have been completed, and Joe Williamson in car number 11 is the race leader. Bill Kimmel Jr. in car number 69 now is closed in on the 4 race leaders. He'll be running at 5th place on the restart. We're down in turns 3 and 4. 30 laps to go in the mellow yellow Louisville 150. Nope, it's Williamson and Williamson side by side, the Copiers Plus Racing Team, battling for the lead over in turn number 3 and down into turn number 4. Car getting crossed up there in between the 3rd and 4th turn. It was Les Vogt in car number 22. Joe Williamson Sr. with the lead. Larry Metters now around the outside of Keith Gardner. He'll go for 3rd place. Now sets his sights to the outside of Joe Williamson Jr. and Larry Metters goes for 2nd. Back into turns 1 and 2. Metters gets a little bit loose, but maintains the 2nd place running. Now he'll look to the outside of Joe Williamson Sr. Out of turn number 4 and onto the front straightaway. Here comes Larry Metters to the outside. Back into turns 1 and 2, and Joe Williamson gets a little bit loose. But Metters comes right back to the outside, and they're side by side over in turn number 3. Out of turn number 4, and it's Larry Metters who jumps out front. He'll take the lead into turns 1 and 2. Here comes Keith Gardner around the outside of Joe Williamson for 2nd. It's Larry Metters out front now as they move on to the front straightaway. Keith Gardner now running at 2nd. Joe Williamson goes 3rd. In terms of the overall point situation, though, Keith Gardner needs to finish at least 2 positions ahead of Joe Williamson. Watching Bill Kimmel Jr. now work the outside of Junior Blankenship out of the 3rd turn area. Larry, straighten this out. Tell me what they do on ties. Tell me what Keith has to do. Larry Metters, the race leader in car number 05, moving out of turn number 4 and onto the front straightaway. Keith Gardner at 2nd. Joe Williamson in car number 11. And he's the driver holding all the cards right now. Back into turns 1 and 2 at third place, a one-time leader of this event through the first 20 laps. Here comes Bill Kimball Jr. in car number 69, moving up along the outside of the number 53 of Joe Williamson Jr. onto the front straightaway. Now this could be a very important move right here. If Bill Kimball Jr. in 69 can get around Joe Williamson in car number 11, this may be a very important bearing in the overall. Side by side over in turn number 2. And Bill Kimball Jr. takes over third place. Really? Because Gardner has to have at least 2 positions. Keith Gardner in car number 98 sits in the number 1 position now in the overall by virtue of Bill Kimball Jr. in car number 69 getting around the number 11 of Joe Williamson. Yeah. Check that. Keith Gardner is currently tied with Joe Williamson for the overall, but Joe Williamson would win any tie breaks between himself and Gardner because of the qualifying time. So right now, Joe Williamson in car number 11 is still the overall leader so far as the point total goes. But if Gardner could get around Larry Metters, he would become the overall winner in the points chase as well. Don't jump up and down and stuff. Car number 05, Larry Metters, the race leader, and Keith Gardner is in second place. Joe Williamson in car number 11 and the 53 of Joe Williamson Jr. And right now, if Joe Williamson in car number 11 loses any other positions, Gardner will be the overall winner. See what happens here. Back into turns 1 and 2. Car number 95, Fred Williams up along the outside of Jim Bartley, chasing down Junior Blankenship as they move over to turn number 3.
And that yellow, Kimball's going to decide this race. And so as he popped around Joe.
Well, right now they're tied, but Joe wins the tie break.
No, they're not. Gardner's ahead.
Yeah, but he went in with 2 points. He's only 2 points ahead of Gardner.
1 point difference, 6 and 7.
Oh, okay.
Gardner's your leader, flat out. When Kimball went around, they put Gardner in the lead.
11 laps to go. Keith Gardner in car number 98 is the overall leader in the point chase at this point.
He doesn't need to get around Metters.
Keith Gardner in car number 98 does not even need to pass Larry Metters in car number 05. Back into turns 1 and 2.
I want to be smart enough to know that. Not smart enough, but I wonder if he knows that.
Back into the second turn now. Larry Metters in car number 05, the Metal Center Recycling, Outer Limits Amusement Center, and Howie's Truck Service Racing Chevrolet Camaro out front.
He may not know that.
Car number 98, the Byerly Ford Thunderbird of Keith Gardner in the number 2 spot, but the leader in the overall point total for the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150. Going third, it's car number 69, the Right Way Grinding Saw and Tool, Ohio Valley Tire, and Martin Landscaping Racing Pontiac of Bill Kimball Jr. Larry Metters now moving in on the top, some of the top 5 runners at this point, onto the front straightaway and back into turns 1 and 2. Less than 7 laps remaining. Alan Williams Jr. in car number 05 is now 1 lap down. Moving in on Fred Williams in car number 95 as they move into turn number 4.
That's what would happen.
Joe Williamson Jr. in car number 53 took a look to the inside of Joe Williamson for the moment. Here comes Metters up along the outside of Fred Williams. And Keith Gardner in car number 98 is right there with him. Trouble here on the front straightaway, and it looks like Jim Bartley will go for a spin on the front straightaway. Comes Larry Metters now to the outside of Joe Williamson Jr. as they move down into turn number 4.
Yeah.
Metters around the outside of Joe Williamson as they move back into turns 1 and 2. Coming up now on less than 4 laps remaining.
Watch it right here.
This critical point here now. Keith Gardner works the outside of Joe Williamson in car number 11. They're side by side back into turns 1 and 2.
Two good buddies. I knew it would happen.
Only 3 cars are on the lead lap. Only 3 cars remain on the lead lap. It's Larry Metters out front, moving down into turn number 4 and onto the front straightaway. 2 laps to go. Into turn number 2 and on the backstretch area, Larry Metters at car number 05, the race leader. Keith Gardner, though, the leader in the overall point situation. And they come across the start-finish line and pick up the white flag. The white flag is out. Less than 1 lap to go, and I tell you what, a moment there for Keith Gardner. He got a little loose coming out of the second turn. It'll be Larry Metters out of turn number 4 coming to the checkered flag, and Keith Gardner in car number 98 will win the Louisville 150.
Third mellow yellow 150.
His third one?
Yeah, he won it last week. It's his third. Yeah, he's the only person to win it more than once.
How much is that pot?
First of all, race fans, we're going to give a nice round of applause to car number 05, the driver of the Outer Limits Amusement Center, Metal Center Recycling, Howie's Truck Service Racing Chevrolet Camaro of Larry Metters. But collecting his third Mellow Yellow Louisville 150, there he is, Keith Gardner in car number 98, the winner of the Mellow Yellow Louisville 150. Gardner is the only driver to win this event more than once, and he has won it 3 times.